everyone. On behalf of the Cornwall and District Labour Council, I'd like to welcome you to our ceremony this morning. We'll begin with Fred Cappuccino will offer blessing to us.
Good morning, everybody. My great-grandfather was killed in the coal mines in Wales. If there had been a union, he likely would not have been killed. May we learn from this loss, honor the memory of those lost, and work toward a safer place for all people where the rights and dignity of all workers are upheld above all else. Amen.
Thank you. We'll have a moment of silence.
The subject is Dr. Darby Bergin. He was the most famous man in Cornwall's history. The trouble is that most people don't know it. Dr. Darby Bergin is 7th of September 1826 to October 1896. I need those glasses, but they're fogging up. I don't know why, but I guess it's something to do with the temperature between over there and here. Here we are. Dr. Darby Bergin was a much respected doctor in early day Cornwall. Having witnessed firsthand the often daily accidents in Cornwall's mills, he fought through his career for workplace safety. Dr. Bergin was the eldest son of an Irish immigrant, William Bergin, a merchant in York. In the early days, York became Toronto. His mother was Mary Flanagan from Glengarry County. Bergin attended Upper Canada College, then McGill Medical School, weeks away from receiving his MD at age 21. A typhus epidemic broke out in Cornwall with Scottish and Irish immigrants. The epidemic was the start of Bergin's career. 49 years of outstanding service, not only to Cornwall, an area, people, but to the Canadian people. During the typhus epidemic, a temporary quarantine hospital was set up at Petit Point Moline, south of the canal, consisting of 5 buildings, 2 for convalescing patients and another building for a person that had died and awaiting burial. Dr. Bergin was in charge, assisted by Dr. Roderick MacDonald. Both these good doctors worked tirelessly, caring for their patients. They were able to save 182 people, while 52 died of the disease. The precautions that they established and the advice they gave to the town at that time kept the deadly typhus epidemic away from the citizens of Cornwall. Dr. Bergin served as a trustee for Cornwall's Grammar School, was a member of town council, and served several terms as a member of Parliament. When re-elected in 1880 as a Conservative member of Parliament, he retained his seat until his death 16 years later. Dr. Bergin was a gifted speaker in Parliament, speaking often and passionately regarding labor and industrial health and workplace safety. Motivated by the many injuries occurring in the mills of Cornwall, he introduced a series of private members' bills to regulate the employment of children and women in the factories. The first prohibited the employment of children under 12 years of age and stipulated that no child or woman could work more than 10 hours a day. It also prescribed standards of cleanliness and safety to be enforced by government inspectors. Mill owners fought vehemently against any such rules, and while Bergin's bills were not successful, they opened the door for discussion around those important topics. And a few years later, many clauses of Bergin's bills were adopted in the Ontario Factories Act of 1884. Bergin promoted the building of a railroad line from Cornwall to Ottawa, which was later built as the New York Central Rail Line. Dr. Bergin and his brother, I'm sure the children here, what I'm going to say now is about, I mean, he was an all-around man. And Dr. Bergin, remember, you people are all, especially the young people, you wouldn't know what things were in the horse and buggy days. But most certainly that was the time that this man was living in. And Dr. Bergin and today it's cars and trucks, but that isn't the way it was back then. Darby Bergin and his brother John, a local lawyer, owned Stormont Stock Farm and Bergin Stables, both of which were very successful. The stock farm was devoted to the breeding of roadster and trotting horses, as well as shorthorn cattle. The two Bergin brothers commenced their enterprise by purchasing the champion horse Ringwood, then soon added another winner, Almont, to their stables. They imported brood mares from Kentucky and had as many as 32 horses in their stables. On September the 1st of each year, the Bergin team would leave Cornwall with a number of their best horses for the northern New York racing circuit, visiting Canton, Ogdensburg, Potsdam, Malone on a 5-week stretch each year. Bergin's military career, as he started as a regimental surgeon. When the Trent Affair occurred, that's during the American Civil War, he raised the 1st Volunteer Rifle Company and served during the Fenian raids as the rank of major. When the famous 59th Battalion of Infantry, Stormont and Glengarry, were formed, Colonel Darby Bergin was appointed as its commanding officer. He held the position for 17 years, a record never to be surpassed. The 59th Battalion later became the SD&G Highlanders. When the Northwest Rebellion broke out, the Louis Riel affair, Dr. Bergin was named as Canada's first Surgeon General. Through his efforts, and for the first time ever, Bergin put together an all-Canadian medical team. He arranged transportation using U.S. rail lines as required, as our Canadian rail lines were still in construction. The lessons learned there were instrumental and eventually became the basis for the CAMC, that's the Canadian Army Medical Corps, being formed. Dr. Bergin's funeral was attended by thousands. The good doctor was buried at Flanagan's Point in Glengarry County. And if you're not aware, especially you young people, Flanagan's Point is where the church is, just west of Glenwold, on the old number 2 highway. I thank you very much. I thank the Labor Council for inviting me. Maybe next year, if I'm invited again, we will maybe have a different theme, but I think the theme is appropriate for today. Thank you.